A lot to get to, but let's start with the action there in Atlanta over the weekend. Again, Alabama, of course, you know by now, whipped up on them Georgia Bulldogs 41-24, and both these teams headed to the college football playoff. We get more into those matchups here in a moment, but Alabama, as crazy as it is to say, I mean, Nick Saban, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, they shocked the world. I didn't see hardly anybody picking Alabama to win this game but a handful of analysts. I think Lee Corso was one of them. And usually when Lee's picking a team, that means they're going to lose. Maybe we should have seen something when both Cousin Shane and I both picked them Georgia Bulldogs to win. We should have known the writing was on the wall. Alabama was going to win. But just a really impressive performance, and even more impressive when you consider the fact that Georgia jumped out to a 10-0 lead. It looked like they were going to handle their business. Cousin Shane hit me up with so many texts mocking me for saying I thought Alabama would start strong in this thing. But once down 10-0, one of the keys for the game, there was 5 key moments in this game, in my opinion, and one came after going down 10-0. Alabama, Bryce Young hit Jamison Williams on a 64-yard touchdown pass, and that really seemed to spark the Crimson Tide. If not for that play, I don't know if they win this football game. And it just, it showed that, this Georgia defense, they have an opportunity to take advantage of it. At least that was the sense I got. That looked like the sense that the Alabama team got. They trust in the plan, execute in it, and after a slow start, they could play in this football game. The second biggest moment right before halftime, there was, of course, the second quarter was huge for Alabama, outscoring 24 points, more than Georgia Bulldogs had given up all season long, not only in a quarter, but in an entire game. So that was just huge for the football game. But the key there at the tail end of it, in my opinion, a little bit of a double whammy here because unfortunately John Mechie got hurt on the play. But Bryce Young went for a scramble and he lost the football, and he's surrounded by Georgia Bulldogs. Somehow, some way, Bryce Young came up with that football. A turnover there right before half could have really halted Alabama's momentum. Unfortunately, they lost John Mechie for the game, and come to find out we've lost him for the season. But after this, Alabama did score twice more, but their offense was, without John Mechie, just wasn't the same. And why it was so big that Bryce Young jumped on that ball, because right before half, they score a touchdown, push that lead to, I believe, what would have been 24-17 at the break. Alabama had all the momentum in the world, and what do they do with it? They come right back out, first possession of the second half, 55-yard touchdown strike, Bryce Young to Jamison Williams, 31-17 lead. And I think even the most optimistic Bulldog fans knew at this point in time, this was just not going to be their day. And the defense made their adjustments after this. They didn't allow another touchdown the entire game. But again, those factors up until this point, the defense was getting taken advantage of. When the defense made the corrections, started coming at Bryce Young, it really started to work for him. But unfortunately, when the defense got right, the offense got sidetracked. Stetson Bennett and company couldn't get it done. After that Jamison Williams 55-yard touchdown, Stetson Bennett threw an interception in the red zone right after that. On the next possession, it was the last play of the third quarter, 4th and 10, down 14 points. Certainly understand Kirby Smart wanted to be aggressive there, but it was 4th and 10. That's not a situation that Stetson Bennett's going to get you out of more often than not. Alabama brought some pressure. Stetson Bennett just threw it basically to no one there. It was essentially a throwaway on 4th down. And then the final moment of the game, that was arguably the biggest of the entire game. Stetson Bennett throws the pick six interception. Could have been his second pick six from the same player, Jordan Battle, who nearly had one early in the game. But that was all she wrote, and it was 38-17 at that point. And Georgia, they didn't give up. We'll give them a little bit of credit here, but just didn't get it done. Didn't show up, and now Kirby's got himself a huge question to answer here at the quarterback position. It's not you can't put it all on Stetson Bennett because Georgia couldn't run the ball that effectively in this game. That was a huge issue. The defense, again, massive second quarter breakdowns with the 24 points, and then right out of the third quarter, allowing another touchdown. These are the things that Georgia's got to get corrected if they're going to beat Alabama in a potential rematch in the national championship game. But, credit Nick Saban and Bryce Young and Will Anderson and the entire crew down there in Tuscaloosa, because the right buttons were hit all this week. And clearly, right after the game, Nick Saban, we'll get to some of his comments, but, he let it be known. The people picking against us, nobody's saying we had a chance. That really drove Alabama. So now the script is flipped, so to speak. Now they go into the college football playoff, same as normal. Alabama favored to win it all. Georgia, now everybody's going to be counting the Georgia Bulldogs out. When 48 hours ago, that would have been laughable. But now we'll find out, how does Georgia respond? That was something we hit on all last week. How do the Bulldogs respond to adversity? This is the first time that Georgia was going to get challenged. Potentially, they had not been challenged essentially since the opener against Clemson. How would they respond? They didn't get it done. Meanwhile, Alabama came limping into this football game, but facing so much adversity week in and week out, the final month of the season, finding ways to get it done. And that certainly seemed to suit them well heading into this SEC championship game. So, man, a lot of storylines from this football game, but I just think the biggest one after it, Nick Saban and the yummy rat poison. Man, they were eating up all the negative energy heading now their way. And now, of course, Alabama, number 1 in the college football playoff. Georgia jumps down to number 3. So let's kick it over to Nick Saban on the goal heading into this game. What changed for them in that second quarter? Bryce Young steps in here. He was at the podium with Saban, so he'll answer some questions. And this yummy rat poison.
After the loss to Texas A&M, you said your team was no longer viewed as elite. What did tonight do in terms of regaining respect?
Well, I think it gave us an opportunity to have a 2-game season. We have a 2-game season now, I hope. That's what we're going to work for. That's what we want to do. These players have worked hard all year long. I think they deserved a lot of respect for what they've been able to accomplish and what they've been able to do. But at the same time, how are you going to look forward? I'm sure Georgia will get in the playoffs again and and they deserve it. They're a very good team. So, it's how do we move forward? We've created an opportunity for ourselves where we have a chance to play in the college football playoff.
Bryce, what changed in that second quarter offensively where things were struggling a little bit in the first quarter but really exploded in the second?
I think it was just us as a whole. Obviously we wanted to get out to a better start than we did, but I think we all stepped up and we all answered the bell. We all understood, what was at stake. We all understood that we needed to step up. So I'm blessed to have the teammates I do that. When our back's kind of against the wall, we understand to need to have a type situation. We kind of got our sparking and started moving. So I'm happy we started to get going when we did.
I actually think that I agree 100% with what Bryce said, but I think sometimes when you start a game, the speed of the game gets you a little bit. The speed of their defense, maybe a couple times, their backs got outside of us because, it was probably happened a little faster than what we'd practiced and what we're used to. And I think once you sort of get used to the speed of the game, like their pass rush and all that, I think you start operating a little bit better, and our efficiency got much better in the offensive line as well as on defense.
For Nick, you had mentioned before the game you weren't sure how players would respond to being underdogs in this game. Just how do you think they responded, and how much was that used as motivation?
I think what these guys really wanted to sort of gain was more respect. Not just the fact that they were underdogs, because I think we had a tremendous amount of respect for Georgia, their team, and what they accomplished. But you guys gave us a lot of really positive rat poison. The rat poison that you usually give us is usually fatal. But the rat poison that you put out there this week was yummy.
Of all the Nick Saban quotes we've had over the years, I don't know if there's going to be one that tops this yummy rat poison. I mean, that has gone so viral. You know, one thing I've yet to mention there with Alabama, and one thing everybody really was counting out, was the fact that Georgia was going to have this massive, massive advantage when it's their defensive line going up against Alabama's struggling offensive line. And those Crimson Tide offensive linemen really came through it in a big, big way. 0 sacks. Georgia had 0 sacks, only 4 tackles for loss in the football game. Bryce Young was giving them some love after the game. And Nick Saban also talked about Stetson Bennett and how they tried to make things difficult on him. And Jordan Battle, Alabama's outstanding defensive back who had the pick six, nearly had 2 of them. He's chimes in here as well as what they tried to do to make things difficult for Stetson.
Bryce, how much, usually the offensive line only gets attention from us when they give up 7 sacks or something, but how much did those guys impact this game against that defensive front?
Yeah, that was everything. It was obviously that's a great front, a great defense, and we knew that coming in. And I think they just kept hearing it, and like Coach said, they accepted the challenge and they really stepped up to the plate. In the biggest moment in the season. So, in all the success that we have offensively, it always starts up front. So I'm glad that you said that. You only hear about people try to only say negative things about offensive lines in general and about our own line, but you don't understand every time that there's a positive play. And whether it's the run game, the pass game, whatever it is, nothing starts without our O-line. And they did an amazing job today. They stepped up to the plate, and I'm happy to have the guys that I do.
What did you guys do to really fluster Stetson Bennett tonight and obviously force him into a couple of huge mistakes?
Go ahead, Jordan, if you want to lead.
I think the main thing in this game was our disguises. We put in a lot of disguises this week, and that was a big thing. Have his eyes wandering around before the play. I feel like we did a good job in the back end and in the linebackers stemming and disguising. So I think that was a big part of the game.
Well, I think that, you try to change the picture as much as you can and make the quarterback try to make decisions after he gets the ball in his hand. And, Stetson Bennett to me is very instinctive, very good player. And if he knows what the picture is, and a couple times tonight when he knew what the picture was, that's when he made plays, and several big plays. So I think us changing the picture on him a little bit helped. And we have to play the ball better in the deep part of the field. We've had a couple of those the last couple of weeks that are things that we need to do better. But all in all, I think that was probably the one thing that helped it the most. And pass rush always helps you if you get good pass rush. And we affected him in the pocket. He scrambled some, which is, you hate, but you're also affecting a guy when you do that because you're not throwing the ball in town.
All right, now flipping to the other side, I mean, so many questions to be answered in Athens. Is this defense as elite as we thought? Certainly didn't look like it on Saturday. Where's this offensive production going to come from? If they get into a shootout, they couldn't get it done here on Saturday. That goes without saying. Will JT Daniels be the quarterback in the playoff? That's yet to be determined. And I've had a lot of questions about this. Is JT Daniels even healthy? If you go back to that Missouri game, he didn't, I don't know if it was rust or what, but he just didn't look like the same player. I've been told that JT Daniels 100% cleared. So anyone out there throwing it out that, he's not good to go, he's 100% physically capable of playing. And, maybe this was just a very bad performance from Stetson Bennett. But here we've got 2 Georgia and Alabama games that Stetson Bennett has started at quarterback for the Bulldogs. And ironically, same score each time, 41-24. He just can't win a shootout. Doesn't matter if it's Mac Jones or Bryce Young, or there's a ceiling there that Stetson Bennett just doesn't seem to be capable of utilizing. And, I've also heard complaints that Georgia doesn't have enough weapons, but that doesn't seem to be the case when JT Daniels is in there because he's able to push that ball down the field. So, in my opinion, we've seen what we got in Stetson Bennett. again, maybe the defense comes in lockdown mode. No Job Menchie. You don't have to worry about that. But they still got Jameson Williams, and Alabama's running backs are going to be getting healthier. Their offensive line's got confidence. There's, I really think Georgia's going to have to win 30-plus points to beat Alabama and to even beat Michigan. So tough questions to be answered here. Kirby talked about that after the game, said he got a wake-up call, him and his team, which he kind of it's funny, but he points to Alabama and how they got a wake-up call after Texas A&M, how that really helped them. And he was also asked about the quarterback pecking order, and he was pretty non-committal about his plans at this point.
After a 12-0 regular season, to have a performance like this, what does it do to the psyche heading into your next game and the damage it just does to that?
Oh, no, it didn't do any damage. No, what it did is reinvigorated our energy. It recenters you, right? I mean, I think one of their greatest thing is when they lost their game against Texas A&M, they were to garner some focus and some attention. I mean, to me, that's an opportunity for a wake-up call, if anything. Unfortunate that it comes in a setting like this. But, I mean, they're a really good football team, okay? And the narrative out there was, well, they just went at Auburn and they really struggled. And some of the sacks they gave up, their tackler didn't even get out of his stance. The crowd noise was a major impact there. Auburn played man most of the down, almost every single play, and they won a lot of their battles that we didn't win tonight. But we knew the narrative coming in, these guys can throw the ball, and they got a really good quarterback. And they gave him an opportunity to make plays, and he made a lot of really good plays along with their wideouts.
And Kirby, I understand Alabama scored 41 points tonight, but there's always debate about the quarterback situation. There's going to be debate about who should start in the playoffs. Can you just sort of address that and whether you think you have a decision to make about who starts in the playoffs?
We have a decision to make every week at every position, but I have the utmost confidence in Stetson Bennett and think he did some really nice things tonight, but we go and reevaluate everything all the time. But, he played well, and it's tough environment we put him in defensively, and we have to be able to run the ball and have a little bit of semblance of balance. And I felt like there was times tonight that we were getting into a scoring contest because our defense didn't get stops. And you don't want to have to do that. But I certainly have a lot of confidence in Stetson, and I have a lot of confidence in JT too.
All right, so again, it's tough to read what Kirby's going to do here, but I'm not saying anything Georgia fans don't know, but Kirby's been second-guessed time and time again how he's handled these quarterback situations. Any rival SEC fan is, just pointing and mocking and having fun, and everyone expects Kirby to screw this up, is my read on it, and because that just going off his history, I mean, that's kind of what it's been. So all of a sudden, Kirby Smart, so much pressure on him to get this thing to the finish line in the college football playoff, and it just made me wonder, I mean, if this Georgia team cannot beat Alabama, I know Alabama's good, but if you get two cracks at Alabama, Nick Saban, and you can't get it done with this team, I don't know. I have to be wondering if you're ever going to get it done, because Alabama's, I don't know, as they have looked flawed all season long. I mean, let's be real. I mean, they've had about 3 or 4 dominant performances this season, and the rest have been not the same old Alabama. Coach O said it after playing them. I mean, it's plain as day. Yet going up against Georgia, I mean, Alabama clearly looked like the most dominant team. They looked like the team better prepared. They had a better plan, and they executed that plan on Saturday. So all of a sudden, I think that we got some real pressure. I'm not saying we fired Kirby Smart, nothing crazy like that, but just imagine the offseason talking points and the storylines if they cannot finish this deal and get blown out once again by Alabama in a college football playoff in the coming weeks ahead. Would be a tough look for Kirby and them Bulldogs. And that, again, speaking of a bad look, Kirby was asked about Bryce Young and this offense and the issues defending Alabama and all the adjustments that need to be made and his message to the team after the game.
You talked all week about how quick Bryce was at getting the football out. I mean, do you credit to you guys not getting enough pressure on him to that, or do you feel like their front actually really did a good job of blocking up you guys?
I'd be hard pressed to say without watching it. We got pressure at times, and he got the ball out. He escaped pressure and got it out. And there were times we didn't. We rushed 4 a couple times and didn't get any pressure, and he held the ball. One of those touchdowns, I felt like he held the ball forever. But you can't do the same thing every play. You got to pitch, and you got to mix it up. And look, guys, I've seen a lot of good ones in this league. He's special, and you might play a quarterback as talented, but you might not play a group of skilled receivers with that. It's the combination of the wideout group they have, at least those 2 guys, and him making some plays. I mean, he made plays with his feet.
Kirby, if y'all end up playing Alabama again, what adjustments do you think you'll have to make to give yourselves the best chance to win?
I don't know that I can answer that right now. I'd like to review the tape and see it. I mean, the first answer would be, don't leave people uncovered. You know what I mean? Like that's the first objective. Let's cover them and then try to win some one-on-ones and get balls down. Because look, now they're gonna throw incomplete balls. They're really good at doing that. So you've got to, at the end of the day, you have to put a body on a body and cover them. And some of the plays we gave were gifts.
Kirby, after a loss like this, what's the first thing you tell your team?
I love them, and I appreciate them, and the outside noise begins now. We've heard it before, but these guys are so solid. We got such great leaders in there. I didn't have to say a lot in there because the leaders spoke up and talked about what they wanted and how they wanted the next couple weeks to go. And I think when you've got that, you've built the right kind of kids.
To me, he's saying all the right things here, but nobody cares if you're going to lose the damn most important game of the year. And that's what Georgia did. And now they've got a couple weeks to solve this thing before they face the Michigan Wolverines in the college football playoff. So